Morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Rabbi,
Rabbi.
and welcome back.
Thank you. We're learning Mishna Pesachim, Perek Zayin, chapter 7, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Okay. Ein tzoylin es haPesach. We may not roast the carbon Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, v'lo ala shapud, v'lo ala askala. Not on a metal spit. A shapud is a metal spit, and an askala is a metal tray or a metal grill. You may not roast the carbon Pesach that way because the carbon Pesach has to be tzli eish. It has to be roasted from the fire. And if it's on a metal pit, because the metal conducts heat, metal is going to be to some degree cooking the part of the animal that's on it. And that's not tzli eish. That's not called roasted by fire. The same thing if it's sitting on a grill. The metal grill is going to become heated. It's going to be doing some of the roasting, and that would make problems with the carbon Pesach in at least a number of spots. Okay, so therefore there is no roasting of the carbon Pesach on a metal spit nor on a metal grill. Amar Rabbi Tzadok. Rabbi Tzadok said, "Ma'isa Rabbi Gamliel sha'amar l'Tavi avdai." It once occurred that the sage Rabbi Gamliel told Tavi, his servant, "Say utzleilanu es haPesach, go and roast for us the Pesach sacrifice ala askala on a grill." That doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right.
Right?
No.
The Mishna first said you don't, and now it brings a story. Doesn't even say Rabbi Gamliel argues. It just says a story opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the Gemara says that you have to add some words here. And that is basically that if you were to go ahead and you could use a grill, there's a way of using a grill. The way you use a grill is that if you have a grill that the rods, that you would, let's say, place the food on, has large spaces between it. So that then what you can do is like this. You take the carbon Pesach that's on the spit that it's supposed to be on, and you place it on top of the rods. You place the spit on top of the rods in a way that the carbon Pesach hangs in between the spaces of the rods. So therefore, at the end of the day, it's not going to get heated up by the rods. It's going to get heated up by the fire. It's just that you're using the grill in this way. You're using the grill, but you're not using the grill to roast the carbon Pesach itself. In that situation, we say that we're not concerned about we don't say we're concerned that you may come to roast the animal on the grill, and therefore you may do so. And to prove that fact, Reb Tzadok said a actual story in which that was done. So you see that it's permissible to do. Okay, next case. The carbon Pesach, sometimes I think we think that it was, there's like this open fire, like this open pit, and you have the carbon Pesach sitting on a spit, and it's roasting on top of it. It seems like that wasn't exactly the way it was done. It was done inside an oven. There was an earthenware oven, but it had a fire on the bottom, and you had the animal set up on a spit that it was getting roasted above the fire, but it was enclosed within a certain area because probably that would help it, roast quicker, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is, though, that earthenware stove gets hot. So if part of the carbon were to touch the stove, you're going to have a problem because that part of the animal is going to be roasted from the heat of the wall of the oven instead of the fire. So therefore, the Mishnah says, Naga b'charsa shel tanur. If, let's say, part of the animal touched the wall of the stove, Yikloif es mekaimai, you peel off the area. That means it's not like the whole animal touched the earth and touched the stove. A part of it did. You know which part of it did. So that area that touched the stove, you have to peel off the top surface. Peel off means, however this would exactly be done, you slice off the thinnest layer possible from the surface of the meat that touched the wall. The thinnest that you can do. You take some kind of a very thin layer, you take it off. That's enough. The issue of how much of this meat how much of this meat gets roasted by touching the wall. A very, very thin layer. So that area that touched the stove, that area you have to remove the thin layer. Naga meiroitvai ala cheres v'chazer alav. Let's say some of the roitiv, that means some of the juices of the animal, fell onto the fell onto the earthenware, fell onto the wall of the earthenware stove. That's what the stove is made of. V'chazer alav, and then it spritzed back, it sprinkled back onto the animal. So you've got the juice that went onto the wall. It got roasted by the wall. You cannot eat that. That's part of the carbon pesach. You cannot consume that part. Now it went and it sprayed back on to the animal. The animal absorbed it, and you know what part of it sprayed back on. It sprayed back onto. So what do you do there? Yikla. Then we say not of my right v'alacheres. If some of the juice sprayed onto the wall of the stove, v'chazar alav, and then it came back into the animal. Yitol esmakaimai. Then you have to remove that section. That means it's not enough just to peel off a layer. When our concern is some of the juice that is getting absorbed into the animal, it gets absorbed deeper in. And what you have to remove is we call that, you have to do natila. And natila means that you cut off a piece the thickness of a finger. Meaning you have the area where you know it spritzed back into. And then in that area, you got to go the width of a finger deep. It doesn't mean this whole area. It means the width of the finger. I think it means the top part over here. The width of the finger deep. That's how much you got to go in to cut out. Not out my right foot ala silas. Now let's say what happened next. The next case is that some of the juice fell onto flour. Now, why was there flour in the oven that it's not chametz? Right? It's not chametz. Flour is not automatically chametz. If it was, we'd have a hard problem making matzah, right? So flour is not automatically chametz. For some reason, there is flour being heated up in this oven at the same time that you're roasting the carbon pesach. So you got this hot flour. If the juice falls onto the flour, so the juice gets cooked by the flour, it cannot be eaten because any part of a carbon pesach that's not roasted by fire is invalid. You're not allowed to eat it. Okay. But now you have in this flour that juice that's forbidden. So what do you do there? Not of my right way ala silas. If let's say some of the juice fell onto flour, yikmitz esmakaimai. Then you have to take a handful of flour from the place where the juice touched. Meaning you see the area where the juice touched the flour, and now you have to remove a handful of that area. Because when it comes to this juice of the carbon pesach that fell into the flour, here it's going to spread more than the other places, and you have to go ahead and remove a handful to make sure that you got it out. Now, in all these cases, the part that you peeled, the thickness of the finger that you removed, the handful of flour that you removed, what do you do with it? You're not allowed to eat it. What do you do with it? The answer is you burn it like you burn any other part of a sacrifice that became invalidated. So all these things that you removed, you burn it. And once you've removed it, you burn it, you removed it. Now the carbon pesach is good to go. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.